All right. So I bet that none of you got this right. I bet that none of you got this right. The thing, the sort of secret, I don't want to call it the secret, but one of the issues that I had with Yahoo is this little accounting thing that they did. And that's why, some of you guys, it's funny, have seen, have been watching the series, and some of you are very impatient. You say, okay, I know what a balance sheet is. Now let's move on to the next thing. I'm ready. I know everything about balance sheets. Oh, slow down, buddy. Maybe you don't. And this is a good example. Like I said, I think it's going to be 10 out of 10 people miss this on the balance sheet. And the trick is that some of these lines are trickier than you think. They're much trickier than you think. And here's why. So cash and equivalents here is $1.6 billion. And I'm going to actually sort of blow this up so we really kind of get a picture of it. So liquid, let's just say sellable assets. So cash is sellable, right? Cash is cash. Cash is pretty simple. So cash is 1631,911. So that's $1.6 billion, right? So cash is cash. That makes sense. Short-term marketable securities. Short-term marketable securities. That's probably what, debt that will mature within 1 year, and that's $4,225,112,000. I'm just going to add it all up here. Something's up on my computer. Hang on. I just got this Excel 2016 that's already bugging on me. I'm going to tell Microsoft I'm the best Microsoft Excel user in the world. How dare you? How dare you? All right. Come on. You can do it, buddy. All right, well, that's sorting itself out using the enormous amount of processing speed that is required. I can tell you that accounts receivable is not a sellable asset, and there's some controversy as to whether or not it really is cash. Yeah, it's happened again. This is so frustrating. It's certainly not a sellable asset for our purposes. Prepaid expenses as well. I mean, these are things like Post-it notes are in here. So we don't need to do these two. So the current assets is done. So it's about, $5 to $6 billion. This is really ridiculous. I have an Alienware, an i7. It's should not be any issues. Let's see if there's a reason why this is happening. All right. So let's see. Long-term marketable securities, 975,961. So this is probably, I don't know. This is probably bonds as well. Long-term marketable securities. All right. So let me try the sum one more time. No, it flips out if I try to do a formula. So strange, huh? All right, we'll manage. Property, plant, and equipment. A lot of people like to think about this as sellable, but the thing is, old computers and property is one thing. If you have office buildings, so it's possible that some part of that 1.5 billion is sellable, like an office building or something like that. But chances are a good part of it is not. So the land is often sellable. The goodwill and intangibles is obviously literally not sellable, right? Other long-term assets and investments, 342 million. So that's not that much. We could lump it in. It's going to be a rounding error, right? 342 million. Okay, now here's the big kahuna. Alibaba. And they're telling you investment in Alibaba is worth 31,172,361. Did any of you actually do the calculation yourself? I doubt it. I doubt it. Because you're bums. See, look at this. This is the strangest thing with this Excel. I hope Bill Gates is watching. And Steve Ballmer. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is not good software. I have a top-of-the-line computer. Take me 5 minutes to cut and paste something. Fascinating. All right, while that's thinking, the next thing that they did is investments in equity interests. Now, what could that be? $2.5 billion, investments in equity interest. No, this is a fresh install. It might be because I have like 15 of these files open. Holy smokes. No, I don't think it's that. My Excel is haunted. It's possible. It's only when I'm doing the formula. I think it's because I have all these files open. I've never had this many files open. Just be a pause in a second. Just be another minute. So the point I'm making is, let me close the file. Maybe that'll help. Definitely weird. Am I running the 32-bit version? You think? I don't think so. I did just have to reinstall everything. Daquan hacked my computer again. I can't do anything right now, so I would love to try something, but there we go. Come on. Daquan is a crazy hacker who loves to rampage in my computer systems. All right, so the point I'm making here is that you can't take this balance sheet for granted. You have to challenge some of these assumptions. You don't want to challenge everything that a company does. Like, for instance, the amount of cash that they have is probably correct. They probably do have 1.6 billion in cash. But once you get to some of these more interpretable line items, you have to be a little bit more cautious. So this, for example, this is $31 billion. If you're gonna just take it for granted, you might make some mistakes. Oh, here we go. Thank God. All right, let me get back to this lesson. I'm gonna open these and just minimize them. These are the models that I'll be criticizing later, tearing apart and picking the best one to win my money. It's not a big prize, $1,000, but you know, someone deserves cash for doing this. And it'll make it so that people will submit the model for the next round. Maybe it'll get more people to watch. I don't know. All right, so hopefully it won't crash too much this time. And maybe I'll do that disabling or whatever that y'all suggested. Let's see. Options, advanced. How do I do this? All right. Okay. So back where we left off. Investment in equity interests. $2 billion. And so I sat here, and it's funny how these things kind of come up. I was sitting here saying, all right, I get it. Yahoo isn't worth a lot, because if you add it all up, this is roughly $40 billion. But and if you look at the market cap, that's $34 billion, and if you look at the debt, that's $13 billion, right? 13,845. So that means that the net cash is about $27 billion. And the market cap is $34 billion. But as I sat there and thought about it, I realized that there was a mistake, that the balance sheet of Yahoo has a quote-unquote mistake. And I did all the math myself. I said, okay, I don't trust that this 31 billion is necessarily 31 billion. And I want to do my own analysis of it. And so I went ahead and I went to Alibaba and I went to their 10K and I looked for Yahoo's holding in Alibaba, and I looked at Alibaba's market price. I looked at Alibaba's filings, and I got pretty comfortable that the holding is worth something like $31 billion, more or less. But then I went to the second one, and I found something fascinating. The investment in equity interest is not actually an investment in equity interest. All this is Yahoo Japan. All this is Yahoo Japan. And you'll find this is a frequent thing in SEC filings where they'll say investment in affiliate or something like that, but it really is an investment in this is a specific thing. They're calling it something else. They should just say investment in Yahoo Japan. But it really is, that's what it is. So I went ahead and I said, all right, well, is that worth $2.5 billion? Sometimes people call this stress testing or verifying or something like that. But I said, all right, well, Yahoo Japan, what is that worth? And it turns out that they own 36% of Yahoo Japan. And Yahoo Japan is worth $23 billion. In fact, if you look at Yahoo Japan's market cap, it's one of the biggest tech companies in the world. It's worth $23 billion, and you don't even need an Excel to know that 35% of $23 billion is $8 billion, not $2.5 billion. And Yahoo is carrying, in other words, they're marking this investment probably at cost. And the investment has quadrupled in value almost, 3.5 times. So it's really worth $8 billion. It's really worth $8 billion. not 2.5 billion. And if you do that math, you'll see that their actual cash is really 46 billion. 46 billion. So they own 35% of Yahoo Japan. But they're marking it as if it was worth 2.5 billion. So they're missing $6 billion, roughly $5.7 billion. So if you add that in, the enterprise value of Yahoo is pretty close to zero. It's $1.7 billion. And this is sort of a holding company, right? They have all these pieces. The biggest piece is Alibaba. The next piece is Yahoo Japan. And Yahoo Japan is they're marking it $6 billion less than what it's truly worth. And they can do that under accounting rules. And it's your job as an investor to say, is that 2 billion really 2 billion? Or is it actually 8 billion? And it is 8 billion. Now, if you wanted to buy Yahoo, it's kind of a pain in the neck because you have to buy this passive stake of Alibaba, you have to buy this passive stake of Yahoo Japan, and nobody, not even Warren Buffett wants to buy $40 billion. I mean, this stuff is easy to liquidate, right? This is $7 billion of basically cash. You get rid of that. That's $7 billion. You buy $7 billion and sell it for $7 billion. That makes sense. I didn't find it in any footnotes. I just said, okay, this I get my head around. This is cash, marketable securities. Marketable securities have to be mark to market, right? So this is mark to market. This is just cash, derp. This is mark to market. This is whatever, $300 million, lols, whatever. That's not a lot. Alibaba, I can check veracity of Alibaba myself. That's easy. And then now for the Yahoo Japan, or this so-called investment in equity interests, 2.5 billion, I could say, okay, what the heck is that? Why do they have $2.5 billion of equity interest? What is it? And it is, of course, it is Yahoo Japan. And then I look up how much do they own Yahoo Japan, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked to see they actually own $8 billion. $8 billion. The mark-to-market accounting is very traditional accounting. It's just simply the marketplace price for certain bonds and things like that. So that's very common and simple. So in any event, the point is, that it understated it tremendously. And again, here I'm telling you that there's $40 billion, $39 billion of what are ultimately illiquid stakes. Liquid stakes. You might say, Martin, Alibaba, that's not an illiquid stock. The stock trades so much. Well, let's actually take a look. Let's take a look. Can you sell $31 billion of Alibaba stock? Oh, let's go to Yahoo Finance and find out. How long would that take? Well, let's see. It trades 8 million shares a day. On average, it's about 13 million shares. All right. So $77 a share. It's been going, I think it's been going down, has it? Let's see. No, it's doing fine. 13 million shares a day. That's $1 billion a day. Okay, you could actually get rid of the Alibaba stake in probably around 60 days, 90 days. But I don't know who would want to buy $31 billion of Alibaba stock. Why would you want to do that? And you buy it through Yahoo as opposed to buying it in the open market. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you sign up for that illiquidity? Even if you could buy it for maybe 10% less or 5% less than the market price, all this really is a very large block trade. And most people don't invest buy companies for trading purposes. This is like a stock trade. No one would want to do that. So the problem is that this Alibaba stock is ultimately just something that is almost cumbersome for Yahoo. It's almost cumbersome. And the Yahoo Japan stake is even more illiquid because Alibaba is only 15% of the company. For Yahoo Japan, it's literally 36% of the company. You can't just sell 36% of the company. It's very illiquid, and nor is that of any strategic value to anyone. The only possible company is SoftBank that could buy it, but Even SoftBank, I'm not sure they want to do this. I mean, Goldman Sachs, I mean, who would want $40 billion of a liquid tech stocks? Even Alibaba, one of the biggest tech stocks in the world, is kind of in a liquid stake. It's not of much value. So basically, the way I look at it is Yahoo has $46 billion of kind of crap, in essence. A bunch of, they're very valuable. It's worth $46 billion, but they're not valuable to anyone else because you can't do anything with a piece of stocks, a piece of paper. You just sit there and watch it appreciate in value or depreciate in value, but it's not actually a strategic asset, so to speak. And so I guess SoftBank said they don't want it. There you go. Because, I mean, for obvious reasons. But so what we're left with here is a $2 billion or $1.7 billion stub of Yahoo. So that means Tumblr is worth $1.7 billion. Yahoo Finance, Yahoo Mail, Yahoo Sports, Polyvore, this thing that they just bought. If you actually look at the prices they paid for these, so let's see. Tumblr acquisition. They paid $1.1 billion for Tumblr. I don't know if that was all cash or not. So assuming that that was a fair value to pay, which it probably was not, the rest of Yahoo is worth not even $600 million. Yahoo Finance, which is one of the most popular websites in the world, some of the Yahoo News, things like that. So how did we go through the rest of Yahoo? Well, what was remarkable to see is that Yahoo is actually this very unprofitable company. And if you look at the cash flow from operations, you can see that last 12 months, Yahoo lost $3 billion. $3 billion. And that's just cash flow from operations. So the question is there a turnaround that can take place that will inevitably result in Yahoo being a valuable property? Is there some fat here to cut that will be valuable? And my impression is that even though you see Verizon is buying these other properties like AOL and things like that, it seems like it's very difficult for Yahoo to generate cash flow. For instance, they're saying that there's 700 to 800 million in EBITDA expected for 2016. Now their capex looks like it averages $400, $500 million. So maybe on a cash flow basis that they'll create $100 to $2 million or $200 million in cash flow. I'm pretty skeptical of that. I'm not so sure they would. And so, but let's take their word for it. Let's say they'll make $200 million in cash flow. Now this is probably declining cash flow, although they insist it might not be declining. But if I give it a 10 times multiple, remember Tumblr is included in that. Tumblr is included in that. If I give it a 10 times multiple, I get $2 billion for the residual Yahoo properties. But even if I gave it 400 million in cash flow and a 15 times multiple, that's a $6 billion valuation. That's really sort of an outrageous. This is sort of reasonable, but still sanguine. And so if I add the Yahoo business itself, so here are the sellable assets, and here's the Yahoo business. The sellable assets are worth $46 billion. The Yahoo business, let's say it's worth $6 billion, because we want to be super friendly to Yahoo. $6 billion. So the total value of Yahoo, and this is a really sanguine forecast. I don't think they're, last year they lost $3 billion trying to run Yahoo, to $3 billion trying to run Yahoo. They went from making 800 to making 500 to losing 3 billion. And I don't know how exactly that happened, but it happened. So let's assume that the business is worth $6 billion. They're telling us that they're going to make something like 100 million bucks next year in 2016. I don't know that I believe that. My forecasts suggest that they'd be lucky to do that. So the total value of Yahoo, if you include all the assets and their actual business, is $52 billion. The debt is 13,845,123. So the total net value, if you subtract the total value in the debt, is $38 billion. And that's assuming that Yahoo's base business is worth $6 billion, and we can agree that it probably isn't. So if we do that, we get a if we subtract it or divide it by the 947 million shares outstanding, we get a $40 stock, a $41 stock. That is the best case scenario, right? That is the best case scenario. But if we put in the $2 billion, which is a little more reasonable for the Yahoo properties. I mean, you get Tumblr, which is probably worth, you know, maybe not 1.1 billion, but it's probably worth 500 million or something like that. Now, they mentioned that Tumblr did not do 100 million in revenue. It missed 100 million revenue. So that tells me that's probably close to 100 million revenue. And that Tumblr is probably worth like a big multiple on revenue. So in any event, 2 billion seems very reasonable. And in that case, you get $36 per share, which is right around the current stock price. It basically is 2% higher than the current stock price. If I put in 6 billion, that's 14% higher than the current stock price. No one makes investments to make 14%. That's not a good enough investment. And furthermore, even if this 6 billion number is right, why would you make this investment? Because sure, they can sell the rest of the business for 6 billion, but you still, all you own at that point is you own, instead of 1.6 billion in cash, you own 7.6 billion in cash, right? And you don't have the business anymore. So you can just imagine this goes to 0 and this goes to 7.6. That's nice. But what about these stakes? They need to hire an investment bank, right? Like Goldman Sachs to sell the Alibaba stake. But they've thought about that. They've tried that. They have thought about that really hard, and it's a tough thing to do for tax reasons. And any time, if you know anything about Wall Street or anything about life, you know that if you try to sell 15% of something, and then you try to sell 36% of something, you're not going to get the same price as if you're going to try to sell 1% of that thing. It's easier to smell a tiny bit of it than to sell the entire enchilada, because ultimately, a buyer is going to say, well, if I'm going to take down the whole stake, I'm going to need a nice discount. I want a discount to the current price. And that means if you look at these current mark-to-market prices, you probably have to take a small discount to them. They're liquid stocks, but they're not that liquid. And because a buyer who's going to buy them, maybe in the hopes of selling them later or just trading them very quickly, it's going to need some kind of discount to take advantage of that. Even a bank like Goldman Sachs would want a 5% discount or something like that. So ultimately, Yahoo is sort of a waste of time. I spent some time looking at these other things. Like they bought this company called Polyvore, and I think this is really fascinating. They paid $200 million to buy this company. And it's not really clear to me why they did it. Imagine it was Melissa Meyer's friend or something. But it's sort of this fashion website. In addition to natural integrations with Yahoo Style and Yahoo Beauty. The problem I had with this is that they have these 4 verticals: news, sports, finance, and lifestyle. So I guess this falls under lifestyle. But they didn't tell us anything about the financials of Polyvore. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So is it an e-tailer? If it's an e-tailer, then that confuses me because I don't know if this is an attempt to get into being an e-tailer, or this is what exactly are we trying to do as Yahoo? And they spent $200 million in this business and 1.1 billion on Tumblr. I guess it's like a link. It's like an aggregator for other it looks like other websites, other fashion websites, which is great. But you know, it sort of confused me. Polyvore. Then they have this Zobni and they have Flickr. So anyway, the properties are interesting, but the moves are a little bizarre. They've closed a couple of non-strategic. So Yahoo Games they got out of. Yahoo Screen was their attempt to look a little like Netflix. And they decided to get they sort of decided to get a little smaller, which makes a lot of sense. It's focusing on one thing is a reasonable way to create value. or a few things when you're focusing on a lot of different things, which Yahoo was sort of sprawling and difficult to manage. So you could see someone like Verizon buy the whole company for $1 billion or $2 billion, and then shut down most of it and just keep Tumblr and just keep Yahoo Finance. And that could make a lot of sense. There's this website that I used to go to where it's a website ranking. It's like, there it is, Alexa.com. So if you look at Alexa.com, you can see that Yahoo's the fifth largest website. Okay, so Google and YouTube are number 1 and 2, and these businesses are worth a lot. Facebook's worth a lot. Baidu is number 4, and Baidu is worth $50 billion. Okay, $50 billion. And here's Yahoo at number 5. Amazon is number 6, and it's worth $200 billion. So Yahoo's still number 5, and maybe that's because of Yahoo Finance. Maybe that's because of Yahoo News. But all of these, here's Twitter at number 10, and Twitter's, even lowly Twitter is worth $11 billion. So it would seem to a value investor that $2 billion for Yahoo is a really low number for what it is and what it could be. Right? I mean, it really seems like it's possible that you could turn Yahoo around. You see Yahoo Japan is number 16. LinkedIn is up there. Yandex is a well-known search engine for Russia. eBay. These are all valuable businesses. And Yahoo's number 5. Number 5. So it really is telling that there's a chance that, you know, maybe these properties are worth a lot more than you think. But even if it were worth $6 billion, again, you don't get much of a pop in the stock. You don't get much of a pop in the stock. And it's hard to see anyone paying $6 billion signing up to really lose all this money and potentially only make $100 million free cash flow. Well, that's not worth $6 billion. I mean, that's 60 times cash flow. That's hard to fathom. So in any event, I basically think that the Yahoo isn't worth kind of exploring or worth looking at. In fact, if the stock went up a lot, I'd probably short it just because I think an illiquid stake in Alibaba and Yahoo Japan is going to have to be marked at a discount, say 10% discount. And if you do that, you know, you're definitely looking at remember, if they're losing money and they're mismanaging their business, it's hard to see a ton of upside. Let's see. Yes, if it went up quite a bit in hopes of a successful sale, you could see the stock be really truly worth $32. In which case, you know, if the stock was at 40 or something like that, that's good downside. And you know it's not going anywhere on the upside, so I would short Yahoo if it went up to 40 bucks or something like that. So anyway, let's take a look at some of the models. Well, let's make fun of them because they're probably terrible. All right, this guy Rolfie sends me this piece of garbage. Wow, holy moly! I don't even know where to start. Search and display. Okay. Competitors: Google, Facebook, Twitter, AOL, Microsoft. You don't say. He makes his growth column, but he doesn't put anything in there. Really, really helpful. I love that. Man, if you were working for me, I would be upset. The patents, I don't know if the tech patents are generally, it's hard to see them being worth a lot, but you know, if Alibaba goes up 30%, the value will go up 30%. If Alibaba drops 30%, the value of Yahoo will drop 30%. Okay. So like I like models that I can read. So if you tried to print this out, I don't know what would happen. I would need like the world's largest page to read it. So good luck with that. Huh? I'm just conclusions overvalued. The share price of 8? Well, even even if you think Yahoo's worthless, just the Alibaba stock is worth $30 billion, and he didn't put that in here. In fact, I don't see anything about the Alibaba assets. This guy totally misses the beat. He does all this work on I'm not sure what exactly. Jesus Christ, I feel bad for this guy. He has a market model. I don't know what this is. Global ad revenue. Okay. Polyvore. What have I not researched? Their investment in Alibaba. Great, dude. It's not, there's nothing to research. If you own 15% of a company that's public, then you can just multiply their market cap by 15%, and that's what that's worth. There's nothing much to model. All right, Ralphie, I'm definitely not good try, A for effort for sure. But the point of Yahoo is that on their balance sheet there's this little $31 billion thing that you probably should have paid attention to. All right, this guy, Neil Sanford, does a little bit better of a job. I don't know what font this is, Arial now or Narrow. Just use Arial. That's better. That's already bad mark there. Important info. What? I don't know. Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, and can't you just like maybe do that? All right. So he also misses the beat. He thinks that Yahoo Japan is worth $2.5 billion. He takes Yahoo's word for it. But if you just did a little research, you'd see that it's not worth $2.5 billion. It's actually worth $8 billion. So the enterprise value is overstated. And this is neat. You know, this is neat. The number of unique U.S. visitors to Yahoo. Now, this makes it look really bad. But the reality is you still have 150 million unique visitors to Yahoo. So it's gone down, sure, but it's still a ton of unique visitors. I mean, that's got to be valuable someday to somebody. And if you're Verizon, it sort of makes sense to look at. Okay, so here you have it compared to Facebook. Now, yeah, Facebook's super hot. Yahoo is the blue guy, which is dropping, but Yahoo's still more visited than Twitter. And look, Twitter's worth $10 billion. Maybe Twitter's overvalued, but Yahoo, you know, it's important to know if something is worth $2 billion or $8 billion, right? You think Yahoo is worth $8 billion, or the enterprise value is $8 billion, and I think it's $1.7 billion. If you came to me and said, Martin, I want you to buy this real estate, and I said, oh, how much is it? And you said $8 million, and I looked up the price and it was actually $1.7 million, I would not be very happy. I would probably never want to talk to you again. Well, that's how I feel about you now. The Yahoo enterprise value is $1.7 billion, not $7.8 billion. So that's a huge mistake. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you, but these are two very different numbers. Let me just make sure you understand that. I don't know how much more I can blow it up, but if someone said, hey, do you want to buy this business? I don't know, man. So basically, if everything else in this model is worthless to look at, if you can't get that basic thing. And here, oh man, this is bad. Wow. This makes me not want to look at it. Ugly. All right, Neil Sanford. All right, so let me just make a list. Who was the first guy? Rolf? Who was the guy's name? Does anyone remember? The first one we looked at. I'll give Neil a C-. It's Rolfie, right? Rolfie? Rolfie gets an F. Because he didn't even add the Alibaba. That was terrible. Basically, and not an F. In fact, he gets trash. He basically gets the trash rating. Sorry, Rolfie, but you're complete trash. Neil, all right, C-. C minus. Forget, doesn't, okay. I'll write comments. 11 gallon Glad bag with drawstring and odor protection. Forgets that Yahoo Japan is actually worth $8 billion. Oh well, what's 6 billion between friends, right? All right, let's see. Oh, and terrible font. What is Arial narrow? All right. Yeah, no, he's just trash. It's not worth my time to review. All right, Michael Flanagan steps up to the plate. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right, he also makes the mistake. He just trusts Yahoo's number and doesn't realize that there's an extra 6 billion up in there. Look, he actually does the, seems to try to do the analysis of double checking Alibaba. The problem is that Alibaba's worth 193 billion, not 129 billion. And this is a classic mistake. Don't use Yahoo Finance for market caps, especially for international companies. Double check the market cap, or Google Finance, or anything for that matter. That was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. All right, let's see. At least the guy, you gave him some points for using Arial. But Yahoo Japan mistake, fail, epic fail trying to value Alibaba stake. Pity points for correct formatting. I haven't even seen the model page yet, so maybe I should reserve judgment. Okay, this isn't the end of the world. This isn't easier on the eyes, but he doesn't include which ones are estimates and which ones are actuals. No estimate actual divider. Oh, look at that. Includes impairment. Come on, bro. I give you a D. This is very close to being an F, but it's not trash. Yeah, this is actually not terrible. Not terrible. I don't know where you get $1 billion in Yahoo net income. They're not ever going to make net income, let alone $1 billion. So lots of mistakes in here. I mean, this is just ridiculous. You know, if Yahoo is going to make $1 billion a year someday, then I'd be a monkey's uncle, and the company would be worth a lot more than what it's trading at. All right, Michael. Yeah, maybe I give you a C minus. It wasn't as bad as Neil Sanford's. It's kind of bad and worse in some ways and better in other ways. All right, Louis Di Maria. All right. All right. First of all, it's not zoom. It's 80% zoom. Second of all, he obviously misses the Alibaba and the Yahoo Japan. He makes this whole sum of parts valuation, but doesn't do anything. What is this? What is this? This is like a empty promise. Oh, here's my sum of parts valuation. This is a fucking empty piece of paper. Wow. Oh. Alibaba post-tax, investments post-tax. I guess he tries to do it here. Essentially, the only value of Alibaba is its investment into other companies now. Good, but you missed the point of, you didn't even bother to look into what this $1.6 billion investment was. Here's sort of a model, kind of. And apparently Yahoo's going to make $1 billion next year. Or in 2 years. Cool. That's great. What the fuck? just can't understand where some of these numbers are coming from. I mean, their own guidance for revenue, their guidance for 2016 revenue was 4.4 to 4.6. But you think it's going to be $5 billion. They're telling you they don't think it'll be more than $4.6 billion. I'm giving you a D. Just not good, not good. All right, look at this guy. Akshay Hey. Wow. All right, so Akshay thinks that Yahoo doesn't care about Alibaba, the fact that they happen to own $30 billion of another company. But no, it's not a big deal. Let's forget it. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't even calculate the debt right. They have $13 billion of debt. Well, I guess they don't have $13 billion of debt if they don't have Alibaba, because that's tax. Most of it's tax liability. All right. Let's look at the model. The models, apparently Yahoo's doing great. Well, this is probably one of the better. This is one of the better models, at least in terms of what. I spoke too soon. Oh boy. Well, look, at least it's not a well-constructed model, but at least it's a little more realistic in that it doesn't have Yahoo making gobs of money. It ignores CapEx and free cash flow, which is sort of problematic. I'm going to give him an F. Not quite trash. Not quite trash. But just an F. Oh, there's the Bob. Here's Alibaba right here. There's Alibaba. Okay. So I'm just going to give him a D-. The core NPV is $6 billion. That's roughly what we were talking about, right? The higher end. And look, he actually adds up how many shares that of Alibaba that they own. So that's pretty good. Then he adds them all up. That's not bad. That's not that bad. I'm going to give you a D+. This is Yahoo Japan. LOL forecasting. All right. All right, Akshay. Good try for sure. All right. Steven Strohmeyer. Let's take a look at this guy. All right. Including Alibaba stake, but still valuing Yahoo Japan at 2.5. I like how he copies and pastes the all of the management teams. That's kind of funny. All right. What is this? Main site. Okay, yes, it's yahoo.com. All right. IR site. That's not that bad. 10K. Business notes. These are okay. Modeling and opinion. All right. Unique. General opinion. Short-term buy. Okay. All right. Way to go. NPV. Oh my God. Look at this. He's taking the value of cash flow from 2010 to 20 forever. But that cash flow is already gone. When you forecast cash flow, it's future cash flow, not past cash flow. I would love to forecast my past cash flow. Jesus Christ. Oh man. Forecasting past cash flow, that's a first. I think my cat could do a better model than that. I'm supposed to be getting delivery of my cat tonight. He gets the net cash all wrong because the Yahoo Japan thing. The forecasts, he's just taking a guess. You know, he's got 3% growth. It's all good. Then all of a sudden it's going to drop 3% a year. Nobody knows why. It is what it is. These costs, he's doing his best guess. I guess that's fine. He's got almost no operating income, which is about right. But now he's got equity income. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. Because unless they're not paying you a dividend and you're including it in here. So I don't know about that.